Hello, good afternoon. I'm Dilip Thakore, editor of EducationWorld.
Hi, good afternoon. Summiya, Yasmeen here, managing editor.
Well, in the latest March issue of EducationWorld, I think we've hit the right center of the national development problem, in that we focused on, India's real demographic dividend, which is,
Gifted children.
yes, by virtue, or by, though it's a disadvantage to have such a large population, by virtue of having such a large population, we also have a large population of gifted children. According to our estimate, 25 million. And therefore, it makes real sense to that these are our real demographic dividend.
Yes.
And not to prattle on and on about 500 million children who we don't bother to educate properly, and then say that they are your demographic dividend. They're not, because they're not equipped in any way to not only forget about contributing to the national development effort, they're not in a position to even look after themselves
Yes.
and their families when they grow up.
So we'll tell you more about our very interesting, insightful, illuminating cover story a bit later. But what
Titled, shall we say, titled,
Yes.
Urgent, Enable India's Real Demographic Dividend Now.
now. So before that, let's take you through what we've got in store in the March issue of Education World. So as usual, two very incisive, hard-hitting editorials. The first one is we've written a kind of obituary on the death of Prince Karim, the Aga Khan, the spiritual leader of the Ismailia Muslim community.
Yes, it's an unusual editorial.
Yes.
It's nothing really to do with directly to do with education, but you have to read it to see how the late Aga Khan has uplifted the entire Ismailia Muslim community, which is perhaps the most prosperous Muslim community in the whole world.
Yes.
And we have given a little insight into his development model for the community.
Yes. And our second editorial is, some advice for the Prime Minister.
Inspired by the American
example. So we say time to establish the Indian DOGE, which is Department of Government Efficiency, to cut down on, government establishment expenditure and basically government flap.
Yes.
And as usual, our education news section, where we tell you what's happening in the education sector across the country. And our first education news this time is, though we always lead from the national capital, but this time we've got a news from Maharashtra, where a Magnum Force K-12 venture between the Adani group led by Gautam Adani and the GEMS group, headed by Sunny Varki. They've tied up and they're going to set up the Adani GEM Schools of Excellence. And Gautam Adani has...
Perhaps we should inform our readers, in case they're not aware, that Gautam Adani is the second richest man in India.
Yes.
And Varki Group is the largest education group in the whole world, according to a Wikipedia report.
Yes.
With over 80 schools in 60 countries or something like that. So these two have come together to launch the GEMS, Adani GEMS
Schools of Excellence.
Schools of Excellence. And 2,000 crores of rupees have been allocated for this project, and some 3,000 schools are going to spring up across India in the next few years.
Yes.
It's a force of a partnership of great and immense possibilities for Indian education.
Yes. And now education news from Delhi is about the momentous announcement by CBSE that class 10 exams will be held twice a year. We talk about its implementation.
Yes, we get a second chance. Otherwise, Indian exams are do or die.
Yes.
One chance a year.
Yes.
And if you were ill on that day, God help you. So now you have a second chance.
Yes.
I think it's a good initiative.
Yeah. And in Tamil Nadu, of course, what's been covered widely in the national media also, the war of words between DMK Chief Minister M.K. Stalin and the BJP government at the center, the language war.
Yes.
and implementation of NEP 2020.
Which-
Tamil Nadu wants to continue to follow its two-language policy. They don't want NEP, which suggests the three-language formula. So there's again, because they believe it's Hindi imperialism and Hindi imposition. So again, a very interesting education news there, Dilip.
Yes, yes, and perhaps very, as we title it, damaging antagonism.
Yes, and education news in Karnataka is also, I think, quite promising
Momentous.
and momentous, because here they have revised the curriculum for the entire diploma and polytechnic courses, which I think is very important for these graduates to be industry ready and employable.
Yes, these are mainly higher secondary school leavers, and these polytechnics cater to them for jobs such as shop floor supervision and so on.
Yes, and in West Bengal, we've got a report on the global business summit.
Recently concluded.
Yes, which the Bengal Global Business Summit recently concluded, and we give details about some of the important education initiatives that were signed, MOUs.
Yes, and perhaps we signal this might be a turning point for the TMC, Trinamool Congress government under Miss Banerjee in West Bengal.
Yes, unusual education notes, again, some interesting tidbits.
From
What's
across the
happening
country.
from across the country, including Madhya Pradesh, Kerala, Odisha, etc. And again, a very informative education briefs, Dilip section, where we talk about what's happening in the education corporate sector. And I think, again, a very on Dr. Krishna Kumar, who's the former chief of
NCRT. Yes.
He's written a very important essay on this entire business of language weaponization and linguistic politics, taking the news peg of the DMK and central government sparring. I think it's a very
over NEP.
Yeah. A very interesting essay.
Yes,
He's
a good insight.
much food for thought there. And young achievers again.
Extraordinary young achievers.
Yes, including a 7-year-old
public speaker. Yes, India does indeed have the advantage of gifted children, but unfortunately, they are not sufficiently encouraged and enabled.
Yes. Institution profile section, again, we've got a very interesting
school in
Nasik, which is doing some excellent work, the Wisdom High International School, Serene Meadows, Nasik, and a foreign university, University of Otago, New Zealand. Mind you, all these institution profiles, especially the foreign ones, are written from an Indian perspective. So, for Indian students, they give a lot of India-specific information. Yes. In terms of eligibility requirements, etc.
Then another special essay this time by our US-based correspondents, that's Sheila Bauer and Raymond Ravaglia, who were Stanford graduates and doing a lot of very good work in education, especially in enabling ties between India and the US. And they tell you about university admission, what strategies to adopt, and what tactics to adopt to get into the best universities abroad.
Indeed. And to our cover story on enabling and empowering India's gifted children, I think we've made a very strong case as to why India's, our estimate of 25 million gifted children need to be given the opportunity through, whether it's through enrichment programs, mentorship, acceleration programs, why they need
specialized learning pathways.
They need to be enabled and empowered, because they are going to be our innovators, inventors that are going to power and lead us to achieve our Viksit Bharat and 30 trillion GDP economy target by 2047. Yes. These are our real enablers.
Yes. But it's a tragedy that thus far nobody's thought about focusing on these kind of these gifted children. Like I said, because of our large population, a large percentage of them, we also have a large number of gifted children. But so far, as you'll read from our story, very few efforts are made,
unfortunately,
half-hearted efforts to enable them, to encourage them, to focus on them. Instead, we are all trying to spread our resources too thin over 500 million children. The budget for education is too small. We can't provide enough per capita investment in our 500 million children and youth. Therefore, we say at least focus on this small number of 25 million. They will become the enablers, force multipliers, the inventors, the innovators that India has never had. In the last 75 years, this country has not produced a single product like Google, cell phone, jet plane, motor car. These are all foreign inventions. And we have 1 million schools and some 39,000 colleges, 41,000 colleges, and 1,100 universities.
Yeah.
Nothing coming out of them. So this is a good time to focus on India's gifted children,
Yes.
and perhaps in the hope that they might produce the game changer products that this country needs, not only to solve the world's problem, but at least to solve our own problems like filthy rivers, toxic pollution, choked motor car choked cities, and 101 other things.
Absolutely.
Gifted children are
please,
very valuable
yes,
resource.
Please read our story. We'd love feedback. We'd love, ways as to how, we all can work together to make this happening. Because unfortunately, in the government sector, the NEP 2020 does talk about enabling gifted children. There's still not a national initiative or, policy on how gifted children, irrespective of their socio-economic background, can be identified and enabled. We talk about there are a lot of work happening in the private sector, but we need to also get to the children in rural India.
Yes, I think we must also point out this story is written by Sridhar Rajgopalan,
Yes.
who heads a company called
Educational Initiatives, yes.
which tests and identifies gifted children. So I think that's a very laudable initiative, and we're lucky to get him to write, to pilot this story. Where of course we put in our own initiatives, which our own.
Yes. I've also helped write that story.
Yes.
Anyway, let's move on to our international news section. Again, we've got the major economies of the world covered for you. The major countries, including the United States, UK, China, South Korea, Germany, etc. Very interesting things happening.
I think we should reiterate that these kind of stories you don't read anywhere in the Indian mainstream media. And Indian mainstream media don't seem to acknowledge that anything is happening anywhere else in the world, and that everything is fine in India in the education sector.
Yeah.
So it's a very disappointing.
Teacher to teacher also, I think a very important suggestion being made by Mr. Gopal Krishna, who is the managing director of Green Business Certification Inc. USA, where he says that we must embed net zero education in K-12 curricula. He makes a very strong case for it.
Net zero means net zero emissions.
Yes.
And environmental protection.
Yeah.
Ways and means into the school curriculums.
Yes. And our special report is, as usual, on the union budget 2025-26.
Somewhat late, but nevertheless.
But no, it's late, but in-depth, comprehensive analysis of the education and the budget.
Yes. And according to us, the budget, which makes a lot of provision for infrastructure development, hard infrastructure development, roads, building ports, etc., doesn't make hardly any provision for soft infrastructure development. After all, hard infrastructure hard infrastructure needs to be maintained, utilized, and enabled by soft infrastructure, which is a well-educated population. It's quite amazing how our great panoply of scientists, economists, and all don't see the connection between the two, and that's why India is really a non-player in the global development race.
Dilip, we must mention that that again this year we've done our supplementary budget for education.
Yes. Yes, because most people say we don't have the money. So every year for the last, I don't know, 10 years, we have been telling government of India
Yeah.
how to find the money. The money is inside the budget. Like in any budget, you have to cut, chop, change, and reallocate and reprioritize and create the money for investment in human resource development. And again, we give our schema on how to do that.
Yes.
According to us, the government of India alone can raise 8.685 lakh crores in 1 year to invest in human resource development. Curiously, this schema has been sent to all the top economists in the country, and there's total silence. Maybe they find it's too ridiculous because I'm not an economist, but they've never bothered to comment on it.
Yes.
So we are doing it again.
And we've got a pictorial essay. As most of you all know, that we also do Education World India preschool rankings.
We are the pioneers, in
yes.
fact, in promoting preschools
Yes.
education, pre-primary education.
Yeah,
in
and the
country.
first early childhood education national and global conference was organized and staged by Education World way back in July 2010.
Yes.
So we've got a pictorial essay on our latest early childhood education conference held in Hyderabad in February, as well as our Education World India Preschool Rankings Awards. So we had, Dilip representation, people, preschool promoters, teachers, principals, over 300 of them attending this conference, coming from over almost 150 cities.
And learning from each other.
Yes.
Cross networking, learning from each other, exchanging information. Because, mind you, I think we need to remind our viewers that the national education policy has identified early childhood education as a critically important input in the education continuum, going from pre-primary to university.
Yes. Yes. And as usual, book reviews, interesting.
Yes, very interesting book review by Shiv Shankar Menon, who used to be, I think, defense advisor to the Union government. And
he's reviewed Bob Woodward's latest book, War.
Yes, the American journalist Bob Woodward, called War, which focuses on 3 wars which were waged under the Biden administration.
Yes.
Yes. And the second book reviews on some inspiring biographies of Indian change makers and thinkers.
Yes, big thinkers. And as usual, our postscript section, Dilip.
Yes, yes. Much
diverse
food for thought
subjects.
here.
Yeah, diverse subjects. We talk about Shashi Tharoor being unhappy perhaps with the Congress party.
Yes.
We talk about are people becoming more stupid, and the extravagant
political leaders becoming more stupid. Focusing on Mr. Arvind Kejriwal's Sheesh Mahal home, and he's not the only one.
Yes,
as you point out.
The former Telangana CM also built himself up.
And then we also questioned an important thing which I wrote is India become a prohibition republic? Prohibition meaning almost, we are supposed to be a free country, but almost nothing is allowed unless it is allowed expressly. Like even going for a picnic in the park.
Before we go, we must tell you what we've got in store in ParentsWorld. ParentsWorld, again, very interesting cover story this time. It's on the importance of protein, including protein foods, protein-rich foods in your child's diet, because protein adequacy is the building block of life.
Yes, indeed. We urge all of you all to read these magazines, create a debate on these issues, because education, whether it's in school or it's at home, as in ParentsWorld, is of critical importance for national development. Looks like the establishment doesn't agree with us, but we are firm in our belief that unless we address the human development, develop our human resources in this country, we are not going to progress and attain the Viksit Bharat and $30 trillion goals for 2047.
Thank you.